What a great year for movies.
Hello, Adam Ryan Donato.
Hello, welcome back to another Hard Review, and I am here to talk to you guys about my favorite movies of 2023. This has been a great year, many reviews. You know how I feel about most of these movies, so I'm going to cover it quick. Now, I know you heard me say these are my favorite movies of the year. That is not true. These are the objective best movies of the entire year. If you don't have all of these in this exact order in your top 10, you are stupid and dumb, because I am the smartest movie boy, and these are the correct opinions. So just to hammer home how I am so unbiased, and I don't just pick what my favorite things are, I pick what the best things are. I'm going with my guy M. Night. I have Knock at the Cabin. While this may not be one of my more favorite M. Night movies of all time, if it was, it would definitely be way higher on this list. It's still one that I hold very close to my heart. I saw it 3 times in theaters. M. Night does what I think he does great in a lot of his other movies, which is take a frontline leading action man, big strong action man, and make him this like little insecure like teddy bear type character. And I think he did that really great with Dave Bautista here. His performance is absolutely fantastic. It's super tense and thrilling, and just like how I would expect M. Night to end a movie like this. It just goes to show that even mid for M. Night is still better than most filmmakers. Number 9, we have a movie that I really got attached to this franchise this year. I had previously seen all the installments, but I wasn't really in love, and when this movie came out and I loved it so much, I was like, you know what? Let's go back through the whole franchise, and I ended up boosting my ratings for a bunch of these movies because I gotta tell you, I'm fast-pilled. I loved Fast X. I thought it was a big, dumb action movie in every great way possible. I love the big, dumb, cheesy twist and the over-the-top cliffhanger ending. Speaking of over-the-top, Jason Momoa gives the best performance of his entire career. He is by far my favorite villain in the entirety of the Fast saga. He's hamming it up throughout. I love me a good villain, and I love me a villain who loves being a villain. Vin Diesel is such a meme. I love him so much. He got nominated for Razzie for worst lead actor, I guess. I just think that that's hilarious. He's doing exactly what he needs to do. These movies are ridiculous, over-the-top fun. I don't have Killers of the Flower Moon on this list. That is a much better made movie, but what am I going to want to rewatch more? What did I enjoy watching? What's more up my alley? What did I like? I like Fast X, and I will die on that hill. Speaking of dying on hills, my number 8 movie is The Flash. I was a staunch defender of The Flash this year. So much so that I've convinced myself that this movie is a brilliant parody of the likes of No Way Home. It's a metaphor for how David Zaslav and Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder are totally incapable of cultivating an expanded universe, a superhero franchise that can compete with Marvel. They just can't learn from their past mistakes, and they're just going to keep on screwing up an entire extended universe of shit. What a total disaster from a planning standpoint. What better way to cap off this disastrous run than with a car wreck, like a disaster piece like The Flash. This movie is outrageous. I'm so happy. Yes, I am completely convinced that there was a lot of self-awareness when they were making this movie. I think they knew that the ship was sinking, and they were like, well, if it is, we're gonna have fun with it. And boy, did I have a rowdy good time with this one, baby. Number 7, we have another movie that I heavily was defending going into it because a lot of people called the trailer cringy, but I'm like, there's no way that Paul King and Timothée Chalamet are going to make a bad Wonka movie. Paddington 1 and 2 are absolutely fantastic. Timothée Chalamet is arguably peaking right now. With the release of Dune 2 in just a couple months here, his exposure has never been greater, and he pulled off something that not a lot of people can do. Starring in a live-action fantasy family film musical. What the heck? There's no way that this should have succeeded, but it did, because it had the hope, wonder, and whimsy of a Paul King film. I love so many of the songs in this movie, and while I don't think that Timothée Chalamet quite reaches the heights that Gene Wilder did in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I think that he has a performance that stands on its own and is great in complementary ways. This movie had me emotional, it had me with a smile on my face the entire time, and it'll make you want to eat so much candy. Wonka's an absolute delight, and I am so happy to see it be a success because it's one that I can't get out of my head. Number 6, we have TMNT Mutant Mayhem. Now, I don't have Mutant Mayhem yet, but this is a 4-pack with the original Henson 3 plus the 3D animated one from the mid-2000s. I think it's super impressive when you can take a franchise that has been rebooted and redone in so many different ways, and you're able to deliver a version that I believe is the peak version. When I think of Superman, I think of Christopher Reeve. And now when I think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I will think of this group of teens. And that's right, teens. These turtles act like actual teens. They're not adults, full-blown adults like the weirdos in the Michael Bay films. This movie is hilarious. It's quotable. It's so relatable. A lot of this movie just felt like hanging out with my friends. It reminded me of being in high school and being done with your friends. The action's fun. The animation style is cool and new. I really enjoy the soundtrack of this movie, and I can't wait to see where they go forward with this franchise because I think they absolutely nailed these characters. Now, the top 5 is pretty prestigious. I have another animated film at the 5. We have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, it's funny because I just mentioned with TMNT how it's like, oh, this is my new definitive version of this character. Well, for a lot of people, Miles Morales is now becoming the definitive face of Spider-Man. And it's well warranted. I just recommended my dad Into the Spider-Verse and I begged him to watch this as well because it's really that great. These are the type of movies I feel like I could recommend to everybody and everyone would like them. The animation style is unparalleled. All these other movies, TMNT, Puss in Boots, are all trying out new different styles of animation, and it's because of the Spider-Verse films. Crazy how you can make one of the greatest animated superhero films of all time and then follow it up with something that might be even better. The only dart you could possibly throw at this film is saying that the ending leaves you off on a little bit too much of a cliffhanger, which I know I mentioned earlier that Fast X ends on an awesome cliffhanger, but that's a lot stupider than this. And I really do mean that. Yes, the animated superhero film, I take it way more seriously than I take the big stupid wrecking ball going through Rome, Vin Diesel, fast car, vroom vroom franchise. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and it's been awesome to see a new adaptation of the character flourish so much. This is truly the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Verse trilogy, and I cannot wait for the third one because this one was damn near perfect. Now, earlier this year, I made a video about Barbenheimer. That was the event of the summer. It is one of the biggest movie events of my lifetime. It was crazy seeing audiences turn up in such a flurry to see two great films. And of course, I had to pick a side. And at the time, I picked Barbie. And right now, I'm here to tell you that I am going to stick with that decision. Number 4, I have Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is absolutely fantastic. Putting this at the 4 is no slouch whatsoever. If anything, if I'm going to sit here and say, oh, I don't have Killers of the Flower Moon on my list because while it is a great director and everything's technically perfect, the performances are great and it has so much to say, how often do I really want to sit down for a 3.5 hour long trek about how awful humanity could be? Despite that, Oppenheimer, a 3-hour long drama that feels much more like a thriller that keeps me absolutely engaged the entire time. And I'm not trying to diss on Killers of the Flower Moon. That is also great. I gave it 5 out of 5. It's very close to being on this top 10 list. Oppenheimer standing out clearly. I have a type of movies. I much more prefer these like fun blockbuster films. And so for a movie that's as serious as Oppenheimer to make it this high in this list, I think is pretty cool. Every single celebrity you know is in this movie. You're seeing a new person that you recognize every single second. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I think it has the best message of any movie of the entire year. I think it's a lock to win Best Picture, Director, Actor, Supporting Actor, plenty of the technical awards, and it's well deserved. Christopher Nolan's one of the greatest directors of all time, I feel, and it's awesome to see him finally get his day in the sun. Is it my favorite Nolan movie? No. Is it even in my top 3 or 5 favorite Nolan movies? I don't really know about that, but for right now, Oppenheimer is one that I absolutely adore, and they sent me this. Like all these, I bought all these other ones, okay? These are all out of my pocket, but Universal bought me this. And on the other end of the Barbenheimer, we have my number 3 movie of the year, which is Barbie. Now, I just feel like these movies are eternally interlocked with one another. You know, they are the yin and the yang of cinema. So I felt wrong to separate these movies in my top 10 list. Like, obviously, they're different numbers, but to put other movies in between them, it's like, no, this was an event. And the Barbenheimer event is my 3rd favorite movie of the year, but Barbie is my preferred half of that double feature. And that's because Barbie's so much fun. I knew right from the announcement of this movie that I was super excited for it. That's because of Greta Gerwig, Margot Robbie, and Ryan Gosling. I absolutely trusted these filmmakers, and boy, did they deliver. This movie swept the nation, and rightfully so. It's absolutely hilarious while being absolutely heartwarming. I feel like it also has a lot to say, and that's really impressive for a movie about a toy. I know that this is going to cause a flurry of toy movies that are not going to come near the heights of Barbie, but we should be so happy and so lucky and so grateful that such a commercial film like this turned out to be such an artistic achievement. My number 2 favorite movie of the year, I thought, was was very obvious throughout the entirety of the year. My number one kind of came out of nowhere. So for the longest time, I truly believed that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was going to be my favorite movie of 2023. That's because I was 14 years old when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. It was a huge movie for me. The second one is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. And I was super excited to see how they would cap off this trilogy, especially with how they ended the second one, especially with what they did with these characters in the other MCU films, like the two Avengers films, and obviously they showed up in the fourth Thor movie. But Guardians 3 delivered in every way that I would want it to. I was expecting a lot more from Rocket, and this is basically a Rocket movie. Every single flashback that they show of Rocket's origin story had me in absolute tears. I love the soundtrack of this movie, despite being probably the weakest soundtrack of the trilogy. It's absolutely hilarious, and it had me just by the heartstrings the entire time, because these are characters that I've grown to love and care about so much, and to see them be sent off into the sunset in such an appropriate way, in such a satisfying way, we're just really lucky. We don't often get third movies in a trilogy that reach these heights. A lot of people would say the third Guardians is the best Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and I still believe that it's the second one. I think that this is the second best Guardians movie, when the first one's the weakest, I feel, just because of the villain. But this is a saga that I am so obnoxiously in love with. I love what James Gunn has done with these characters that we knew nothing about, and made a trilogy, an entire franchise of films and characters that are now stalwarts in popular culture. To see him cap it off in such a perfect way was the icing on top. My favorite movie of the year came out a few months after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I remember a buddy of mine saw it and said, Adam's gonna love this silly shit, and boy did I love this silly shit. We have Dix the Musical. Dix the Musical is right up my alley. I love musicals so much. This movie has a very distinct and obnoxious sense of humor that I absolutely fell for. It kind of felt like Dumb and Dumber if it was a musical in the same vein as Big Mouth. It kind of felt like if Dumb and Dumber was a musical in the same vein as Big Mouth. Now, I know some people don't love Dumb and Dumber, and a lot of people don't love Big Mouth, but those are two things that I love very much. This movie is crude and raunchy in the funniest way possible. The end of this movie is so obnoxiously shocking. I've never seen anything like it, and I'll never forget the experience, and I am so happy to show other people this movie and see their reactions to it. I love all of the songs. Megan Thee Stallion is amazing. These are two actors that I am really excited to see moving forward. Not to mention, Nathan Lane is one of my personal favorite character actors of all time. What a fantastic year for movies. Honestly, probably one of my more favorite years in recent memory. This year and last year blow 2021 and 2020 out of the water. Obviously, they have the advantage since they weren't as impacted by COVID, and now with the writer's strike, we're going to get a 2024 that's probably going to feel a lot closer to 2021 and 2020. But I will still be watching movies, and I will putting out reviews, and thank you guys so much for another year of great movies with me. Thank you for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Why don't you guys tell me what your favorite movie of 2023 was? Tell me how stupid and dumb that I am, that I love these stupid and dumb movies. Yeah, I love some stupid and dumb movies. I love having a big old dumb time at the theater. Shout out to other 5-star films such as Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, Poor Things, The Boy and the Heron, The Holdovers, Cocaine Bear, Godzilla -1, Maestro, All of Us Strangers, Blackberry, American Fiction, in no particular order.